Hi everyone, Marcus here and welcome to the channel once again. Thank you for dropping by, and today we will be comparing these two awesome sneakers that has full-length straddle in it. So let's find out which one is for you. So let's go. On my right is the all-new Air Zoom GT Cut, while on my left is the LeBron 18s. So these two sneakers have full-length Zoom straddle in it. If you know me, you know how I love my full-length Zoom straddle, but let's talk about first the other aspects of the sneaker, and I'll let you know which area they differ and which performs better in those areas. So let's start off first, of course, with the uppers of these two sneakers. The LeBron 18s features the all-new Battle Knit from Nike, and I believe it's very exclusive for the LeBron line. While on the GT Cut, it has this net mesh-like upper, which is really thin. Of course, comparing it to the Battle Knit of the LeBrons, which is thick. So ventilation-wise, of course, the GT Cut will be better because the materials are thinner. The underlining material is also thin, and it's only thicker on the high wear areas, which is around the forefoot part and around the heel part, while on the LeBrons, the Battle Knit is on the entire upper, so it's kind of warm there. So for comfort, I would lean more on the LeBrons, but the comfort of the material of the mesh of the GT Cut is still very good. But if you're just comparing the two of them, the comfort level on the LeBron is far better. But in terms of support, I will give it to the GT Cut because the Battle Knit stretches, knit material stretches, so even though the Battle Knit of the LeBrons is thick, it still stretches. And comparing it to the mesh material of the GT Cut, where including this TPU plate really holds you down to the footbed, your foot really doesn't move anywhere from the footbed, it stays intact there. So lateral support, amazing on the GT Cut. And if you try the Zoom Freak 2, it has a very similar feeling where your foot will go nowhere and stay in the footbed. Plus the high wear areas where I mentioned is thicker. It is fused on those areas, so it doesn't stretch at all on those areas, especially here at the lateral part of the forefoot, plus on the heel part. It's really thick and fused, and those areas doesn't stretch at all. So in terms of support, GT Cut for the win. Now moving on to the mid part material, where you can see the laces and the thong. For me, the thong of the GT Cut is better because it is well padded compared to the LeBrons, which is just made out of this synthetic leather or some kind of plastic material that is really thin. So comfort level of the thong, I would give the GT Cut hands down. I just wish that the LeBrons use the same material for the thong. So maybe on the LeBron 19, they will listen to this video. I know Nike, you're watching this video, so take that into consideration. And as for the laces, both have very high quality laces. And now let's move on to the heel part of the sneaker, where you will see that the LeBrons is a little bit higher, but still it is considered a low cut sneaker. It's a mid to low, while on the GT Cut, it is a really low cut sneaker. And as for the padding around the ankle, they're both very well padded, but the GT Cut's padding is a lot thicker and a lot more plush. So comfort level, I will give it to the GT Cut. But in terms of heel containment, lockdown, and support, I would say they're pretty much equal on that because there's enough ankle support. Heel containment, lockdown is very good on both sneakers. Now let's move on to the cushion setup of these two sneakers, where it's kind of similar, but at the same time different. So let's get into detail. So one of the main difference between the two cushion setup is of course the insole. The GT Cut's insole is made out of this React foam that's very similar to the Kobe AD NXT 360, or if you have the Air Force One React or the Converse Pro BB or All-Star BB, they have this insole that is really, really nice. While on the LeBrons, it has this regular standard insole. So for insole, GT Cut for the win. And both sneakers have, like I said in the beginning, both sneakers have full-length Zoom straddle, but there's a little bit difference on the Zoom straddle on both sneakers, where on the LeBron Zoom straddle, there's a fabric on top of the Zoom unit that is glued to the Zoom unit. So when you're putting your fingers inside and touching it, it's not as plush as the ones on the GT cut, but when I wear them at the same time, it feels kind of the same. Both are very bouncy, so nothing to worry about that. But I would just like to mention that difference. So they're both very bouncy, don't worry about that. And another thing that's different about the cushion is, of course, the LeBron's is a thicker foam below the Zoom Strobel, which I think is Cushlon and not Phylon, but nonetheless, it is still very plush. While on the GT Cut, there's just a thin foam below the Zoom Strobel, so this is really close to the ground. Court feel is excellent on the GT Cut, plus responsiveness. While on the LeBron's, you feel higher off the ground, so court feel won't be that good, but still it's very responsive. But some of you may like the LeBron's more because it gives you more cushion, more impact protection in the forefoot compared to the GT Cut. So it's just a matter of preference, especially around the forefoot. If you want it low to the ground, very good court feel. Plus it still gives you that bounciness that you need. Of course, you would choose the GT Cut, but if you're someone who likes more impact protection in the forefoot, you would choose the LeBron's together with the bounciness that you would feel in the forefoot. And another thing where the LeBron's cushion is better, of course on the LeBron's you will have this Air Max 270 cushion. You will really feel the huge difference on impact protection on the heel of the LeBron's compared to the GT Cut, which is closer to the ground, but still it has impact protection, but nothing as good as the impact protection that the LeBron's will give you. But the only thing that you will sacrifice, of course, the court feel and of course the stability of the sneaker, because it's a given when your feet is higher off the ground, it is less stable compared to the GT Cut, which is really low to the ground, so it's more stable compared to the LeBron 18s. Now let's move on to the outsole on both sneakers. The LeBron's traction has this criss-cut pattern, while on the GT Cut it has the star-like traction pattern. The traction in the LeBron has deeper grooves compared to the GT Cut, but in terms of bite, both have very good bite on the floor. It grips really well. Both traction squeaks, and on the LeBron's, I had played with this on a dusty floor. It still performs really good. And as for the GT Cut, I have yet to play with them on a dusty floor. My floor here has dog hairs and it's kind of dusty, but it still grips, so I think on a dusty floor, this will still be good, but I will give you an update on the performance review. And as for outdoor use, I would say the LeBron's is better for outdoor because the rubber materials are harder and has deeper grooves, so outdoor use for the LeBron's is better compared to the GT Cut, especially how thick the foam of the LeBron's are and how good the impact protection of the LeBron's. This is really ideal for outdoor use. That is if you don't mind using your expensive sneaker on outdoor courts. And as for the width of the base, the GT Cut's base is wider by a millimeter, both in the forefoot and heel part of the outsole of the GT Cut. So this one is lower to the ground and has a wider base, plus this very nice forefoot plate on the lateral part of the sneaker. I would say stability-wise, the GT Cuts is for the win. But if you want maximum cushion, bounciness, and impact protection, and if you don't mind it to be higher off the ground, of course the LeBron's is for you. As for the sizing of both sneakers, go true to size if you're a regular footer, and wide footers have size up on both sneakers. And wide footers, I think the LeBron's will be better for you because on how snug the GT Cuts is, especially around the forefoot part, it's really tight on top of your foot, so that's one thing to consider. Unlike the LeBron's, which has more room on top, and it has a knit upper which stretches more compared to the upper of the GT Cut. And as for the pricing of both sneakers, the LeBron is $190 and the GT Cut is $170. So this is $8,700 while the LeBron's is $9,700. So 1,000 pesos difference between these two sneakers. And as for the weight, the GT Cut weighs 470 grams while on the LeBron's it's 530 grams. So this is around 60 to 70 grams heavier compared to the GT Cut. So if you want a lighter sneaker, of course, go with the GT Cut. But if you don't mind the weight, and if you want a sneaker that is built like a tank, of course, go with the LeBron 18s. So that's it on my comparison between the LeBron 18s and the Zoom GT Cut. Let me know which one is for you? Hit me a comment down below. This has been Marchas once again. Thank you for dropping by. Thank you for your support. I will catch you in the next one. Cheers.